Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm here with Tyler Winship. He is the owner of Englewood Custom Carpentry. They're located in Englewood, Florida. Welcome to Builder Stories, Tyler.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of background, who you are, how you got into carpentry, what your business does, things like that.
Sure. Okay. So I guess it starts, back when I was a kid. I was a skateboarder, so I would build, skateboard ramps and stuff like that. And, we'd go by construction sites and dumpster dive and take the wood out of there and, build tree forts, all that kind of stuff. And then as I got older, I got better at building and went on to study construction management and technology at Florida Gulf Coast University. Did not get my degree, but, wound up going into construction, working for a general contractor. I was lucky enough to work under a true master carpenter. There's a lot of people that call themselves master carpenters here in this trade, but not a whole lot that are actually master carpenters. And this guy was truly a master carpenter. So I was very fortunate to be able to work with him. From there, I had noticed that my boss, not the master carpenter, but the actual general contractor, was shorting my paychecks. And so I sent him an email and kind of outlined that I had noticed. And he asked me to come into a meeting with him after that email, and we had a discussion, and that led to me being let go. But prior to that discussion, I had talked to my wife and to my mom, and I had told them, I said, look, if this guy doesn't fire me, I'm quitting and I'm starting my own company. And so he let me go, and I started my company that day. I'd already had business cards printed up and all that stuff ready to go. And before I even got on the highway, I had my first 2 weeks worth of work scheduled and making triple what I was making before, and just started like that and never looked back, and just kept going, kept learning, progressing. Now my company's about 10 years old, almost 10 years old. We are a team of 7, and we're doing great. Or so. Yeah.
So you said, like, before you even got off the highway, you had your first couple of weeks worth of work. I mean, where, obviously you must have sort of been, like you said, you're preparing for this, day, for this moment mentally, but like, where did those first customers come from for you?
So I had called a friend of mine's dad, who was a real estate broker. And I just called him and said, hey, I'm on my own now. I'm starting my own business. Do you have any work for me? And he said, yeah, I've got some fencing I need put up. I've got some interior remodels to do and stuff like that. So I just got right to work. I went straight to his one of his properties, started putting up a fence, and just kept going. Not there. And then he was pretty helpful as well. He let other people know. He had some friends that were investors and stuff like that. So he kind of got the word out a little bit as well. But yeah, so I had a pretty good start. And then, as they can't keep you busy forever. So I had to kind of learn how to hunt a little bit there. I remember specifically one day waking up and having no work to do, and, not sure where my next, job was going to come from, and searching Craigslist and just trying to figure it out. And that was, it was a weird day, but I found work, and I just kept, and I was like, this is how it is now.
Yeah. So would you say that, was that kind of one of the first sort of most shocking, moments for you when you realized, like, there's no work and I gotta go hunt?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was real then, I had a family to support, I had a wife and one kid at the time. I have two now, but just realizing that, this is something that, especially in the beginning, is so delicate, and you have to be on it if you're going to survive. And thankfully I did. And things have changed now where I don't really have to look for work anymore. It kind of comes to me. But that's again the result of many many years of building a reputation and standing behind my work, and that sort of thing.
Sure. So early on, what were those, I mean, you said fencing job, but what were some of your earliest jobs, and then sort of how has that adapted, kind of changed over time?
So early on, you basically take just about whatever comes to you. If it's somebody wants some flooring put in, great. If somebody wants some trim put in, great, I'll do it. And over time, I started to realize that the thing that I'm best at is the fine finish type of work. So when I started to focus myself on that and kind of hone my skills towards that and start developing systems and processes for how to do that most efficiently, and that's when I really started to get some traction.
Sure.
I was able to start, turning a profit instead of just breaking even all the time. And I remember the first time I really made a profit, I kind of felt a little guilty, because, which is odd to say, but and I was like, wow, I must have overcharged them. But no, the truth is, you're supposed to be making a profit, and you're supposed to be, that's my number one job now, is to, make sure that I'm running this thing profitably.
So how long did it take you to figure out, what you should be charging, and how to price a job so that you did make profit?
Um, well, I would say the first few years I was breaking even, maybe year four or so, I started to figure out that, you need to be doing these things. And I was also navigating, the law and trying to figure out um, what I had to comply with insurance wise, and what I had to comply with, workers' comp stuff, and, tax filings and all that stuff. I had no prior um, business training. So I was really just learning all this stuff as I went. And basically every time I'd get knocked down by something, I'd look at it and say, okay, how do I make sure this never happens again?
Sure. And I imagine early on too, like when you're both selling the job and you're doing the work, like it's probably a little bit hard for you to kind of figure out, well, my own time putting into this. I see a lot of people like, well, it's just my own time. I don't need to charge as much. And then, figuring out what do you charge per hour to go do the work. And then you realize, well, I'm just way undercharging, for my own time, and so I can see how kind of the profit gets a little blurry when it's your own time in there.
Yeah, actually, I was really fortunate. I had a client who explained that to me one day. He sat me down and he helped me figure this out. So this guy was very, very business savvy person, and he had, when we went to do his remodel, he said, "Hey, I've never had anybody, go for this, but what do you think about doing an open book type project? Where I basically show them all my expenses and time and all that, and then we go over it at the end." And I said, "You know what? Let's do it." I just had a good feeling about the guy, and so we did it. And at the end, he sat me down and we went through all the expenses, and he actually tried to trick me a little bit to get me thinking and to get me going, but we're going through the line items, and he says, well, this is $100,000 project, and so I said, well, wait a minute, no, this isn't $100,000 project. That was just what it costs, and so at the end he said, well, what it looks like here is you're only charging me for your time. He says, you're not charging me for your expertise, and that's where you're losing money. this is what you need to be doing. This is what your time is worth. So he kind of gave me a lesson right there at his kitchen table and explained to me, one of the key points that I was missing. I wasn't, I guess it never occurred to me that, this expertise is valuable and it's worth charging for. And, yeah.
Yeah, what an awesome client to take the time to. So did he end up paying you more for your expertise?
Yeah, he did. He did. He actually ended up stroking me a check for $13,000 more than I was asking him for.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's incredible. That never happens, does it? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you ever get like any formal sales training, or how has your training evolved?
So, well, through the contractor fight, I did go through their program, Battleground program, and I found that pretty helpful. There were certain, I kind of would pick and choose the things that I chose to kind of employ. They have some methods that I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing it that way, but there's a lot of really great gold nuggets that they had as well. So that's about the closest thing to a sales type training that I have. But when I go to sell a job, I'm not really even thinking about selling the job. I'm more trying to understand what they want, how they are envisioning this space, how they're going to use this space. And I kind of act like I'm at a barbecue. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not super worried about whether or not I get the job. I'm more worried about whether or not I'm going to be able to work with this person on a daily basis. And if I'm interested in doing what they want me to do, sometimes I'll go and I'll look at a job and I'll realize like, oh, these people want me to cut corners, and if that's something that they want, unfortunately, I can't work with them because, once I build it, I own it. So no, I'm not, I'm a terrible salesperson. Absolutely terrible. But I sell a lot of jobs. So
yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say were some of the biggest takeaways that you had going through, Tom Reber's program? I mean, Battleground is very focused on, sales and kind of giving you different, techniques to help improve your sales,
Yeah.
How did that help you?
So I think one thing that was really helpful was in the beginning, you go through a whole thing where you figure out what your numbers are. You got to figure out what it costs you per hour to operate your business. So it was really nice to have that structure to kind of show me how to calculate that and figure that out. And I actually realized, hey, I'm not charging enough. I'm actually, I should be charging $10 an hour more than I am. So, being able to make that adjustment, and we actually go through this quarterly, we'll do the same, that same math, to figure it out, say, okay, well, where are we now? Do we need to adjust our hourly rate, or are we doing well? So that's really great is, knowing your numbers is super important. And then as far as the sales training goes, there's something that they introduced called the bullshit meter. And basically that is where, you let people know that, you're going to be charging them to come out and take a look at their project. And some people will say, oh, that's ridiculous. And, if they're serious though, if they're serious about buying, they're going to pay a consultation fee. And a consultation is a experience-led conversation with a professional to make a buying decision. And if they don't find that value, then maybe I don't need to be wasting my time going out there. So that was a super, super helpful perspective that I really didn't think about before. Like when you go and you see a doctor, right, to get, say a surgery or an elective surgery, whatever, they're going to do a consultation and they're going to charge you for that time. So just like before we go and we start operating on somebody's home, we need to have a consultation. We need to come up with a game plan. We need to figure out what exactly you want, what will work and what won't. We're pulling measurements. We're doing a lot of work on behalf of, putting these prices together. So, charging for that time is pretty pretty important.
Yeah.
And weeding out those people and not spending the gas and the time going out and providing prices to people that really aren't serious.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. Great analogy there. That you're paying to go have that consultation with the doctor. That you're a professional, just like any other professional that's charging for their time. So do you do that now on every job?
I don't do it on every job.
Yeah.
I don't do it for returning clients, because we've already, built a rapport. They know what we're all about. They know what they're going to get. And most of our customers actually become clients. So, I don't really call somebody a client until they are coming back and, they're returning customer, then they become a client. But yeah, so if it's somebody new and I can kind of feel them out on the phone as well, how serious they are about doing the project. There's certain ways to do that. And Tom's program does help with that as well, teaching you kind of methods to figure that out, and make sure that they mean business before you show up. So.
Yeah. So what does your full kind of what's the whole sales process look like for you from, lead comes in to how are you qualifying them? Kind of what's that whole thing look like to getting them to become a customer?
Sure. So typically people will go to our website, they'll fill out our form. Now we have replaced the job tread form with the groundwork form. I think that's one of your partners there. But Groundwork is an app that gives you the ability to have the clients upload videos, like do a video walkthrough of their project and basically show us exactly what they want done before we even arrive. So we'll take that video and we will start putting together kind of a rough ballpark figure with some of the information they've given us. And that way, when we show up, say we call them up and we will have like a phone conversation about their project. Say, hey, tell me more about your project. How do you envision this space? What's your timeline? When do you want this done by? And so once we kind of figure out what they need, we'll be able to give them a figure, say, okay, your project's going to cost $60,000. And, they may go, wow, 60,000, that was quite a bit more than I expected to hear. And if that's the case, we say, okay, well, based on the information you're giving us, that's what it's going to be, give or take, obviously. But that's a ballpark. And if they say, oh, 60,000, that sounds great. Let's do the in-person consultation. Okay, great. So we'll go out there and we'll meet with them and, because now we know they're a serious buyer at this point. Their budget is realistic. So once we go out there, we'll have a proposal kind of already written up for them to kind of show them where they're at. And from there, sometimes we'll just get a check and we'll put them on the schedule, So it cuts out a lot of the back and forth, I guess.
Sure.
By using that app.
So being able to just like get that video ahead of time and already like visualize and see what they want done. I mean, that's just like saving you so much time. You're not having to drive out there to view it for the first time and then leave, put together the proposal, go back out there or go in via phone call later. Like you're able to go and have that money conversation, kind of go through the details when you're in person with them for that first time. And earlier you said, that you're, early on, you're really having to go hunt for every project, but now you're no longer having to do that as much. You've got this kind of this engine that's flowing and the leads are coming in. Like what would you attribute, that to? How have you gotten to that point?
So in the earlier years, I was a one-man band. And so at that point, I was doing all the work myself. I was out in the field building relationships. I was just doing top quality work, and people would recommend me to their friends. They would give us good reviews on Google, all that stuff. So I was really laying the groundwork. I was building my reputation up. And as I've gotten more sophisticated with all this. I've learned how to use Google and SEO and all that stuff, and kind of optimize our website so that we can rank higher in Google and reach those people that maybe aren't in our client's circle of friends. So we've been able to kind of expand beyond just the word of mouth, which is how we started, to, being in everybody's face. Our trailers are wrapped with our name. It's huge. You can read it from 100 yards away. I told the guy, I said, I want to be able to read this from space. So, and that's another good thing that happened. I had a guy actually explain to me when I was going to get my first trailer wrapped. Our legal name is Green Gold Building Solutions, and he says, you ever thought about changing that name? I said, no, why? He said, well, because it doesn't really tell anybody about what you do. I said, huh, that's interesting. And he said, basically, you want to keep it simple. He says, you want to tell them where you're from, what you do, and and they need to be able to figure that out in about 3 seconds as you drive by. So, taking his advice, I said, okay, well, what we really do best is that custom carpentry stuff. So I said, all right, we're in Englewood Custom Carpentry. It was that simple. And just getting a DBA and changing that for marketing purposes was such a great move. I had never thought about changing the name or anything prior to that conversation, but keeping it simple and telling people exactly what we do was pretty smart, because when I started the business, I didn't think I was going to be, falling into like a niche category. I thought that I was going to be, building new homes and doing, smart homes that are environmentally friendly, that kind of thing. That was really my original goal. So beginning with the goal in mind, I named my company Green Gold Building Solutions, but it kind of evolved into, we're the best at custom woodworking, and that's what we do. So that's just how it happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and again, it's like early on, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where you're going to land. Like I ended up going into mechanical engineering. I was like, this is like terrible. I hated it. Like I wasn't, really wanted to do that at all. And I found my way over to the business school. I was like, oh, much better fit for me, and then later I'm, going and doing software engineering. It's like, oh, I should have just chosen a different one. It's like, but like, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know where you're going to be able to excel till you've gotten some experience. So I think it's awesome that you listen to that advice and you're able to kind of make that move to rebrand. I see a lot of people who, they'll kind of struggle on that decision for a long time and not ever pull the trigger, when it might make total sense, and it could ultimately really help better position them, to get more of the type of work that they need to do. So, good on you for making the move.
Oh yeah, it was just so simple when he put it like that. I said, wow. It's so simple. It's stupid.
So are you doing any like advertising or anything like that to also, attract people?
So yeah, I mean, we have all the trailers and the trucks are all wrapped and everything. We've got shirts and stuff like that. Google, when people Google us, we're the top result. We sponsor all the.
Are you paying for that Google listing? Like, is it a Google ad, or are you just you've organically ranked it with SEO?
I organically ranked it first, and
Okay.
then I started paying for the ads as well as an additional boost. Yeah, so I just really did a deep dive into what Google looks at, like how do they rank someone, and so I started looking at all those things, and I was like, oh, you gotta put these keywords all over the place. You got to be bouncing off different organizations' websites and stuff like that. So maybe joining the building industry association in your area, that's a great way to do it, or the Chamber of Commerce, and those are also great areas to network as well, find other professionals that are doing kind of the same thing as you, and being able to lean on them for advice and just build relationships over time. So, but yeah, so our advertising is, it's kind of minimal, but everybody here knows who we are, which is really great. Uh, like we do a lot of work out on Boca Grande and Palm Island and Little Gasparilla Island, which are um, three of the local island areas, and we're all over the place. Like, people are like, wow, you guys must be busy out here. We seen 3 of your trucks today. And so just becoming kind of a household name in those areas has been super important for us, because they're really tight-knit communities that are hard to get into in the first place. And so being in everybody's face like that is super important to our strategy.
And did you figure out all the Google Ad stuff yourself, or did you hire a partner?
Oh yeah, I figured it all out, just
Nice.
Googling stuff on the internet and figuring out, okay, this is what they look at. And I built myself a website, and it was pretty good. But then last year I had it redone. It's a bit better now, having a professional do it versus myself. But yeah, I mean, it's something that's just kind of evolved over time. And
Sure.
and then in addition to that, we also like to support the youth sports. So we sponsor the football team, we sponsor the band, we sponsor the cheerleading, we sponsor the gymnastics stuff. And so just being, people seeing your banner while they're taking their kids to their sports, and seeing, which companies are supporting their kids, I think is helpful as well. I think that people really want to support people that are getting involved in the community and stuff like that. So, and I have kids too, so I like to see my own stuff when I'm out there as well. So it's kind of a vanity thing a little bit.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a great move. I've heard from a lot of people, those, kind of supporting the local community really does go a long way. And I'm sure when they call into you, they like to share, hey, I saw you out at the, the ball field or wherever it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
So
you also, do you run, have you done anything with like any Facebook or Instagram ads or any other, like besides Google?
we have a Facebook page, we have a TikTok, and we have an Instagram. We don't really run ads. We just kind of post stuff every now and then. We'll do a little video where we're walking around the job site, or we'll, post some photos of some work being done. But no, we don't do paid ads yet.
Yeah.
I've considered it, but at the same time, I don't know, what the impact will be and whether or not it's going to be worth it. So I really haven't gone down that avenue just yet.
And so you've seen, a tremendous benefit to the videos, from your side, from leads uploading those. I mean, like, how much effort are you putting into producing videos and putting that out on your social?
Well, we're getting better at it. I've recently hired an assistant who is much more tech savvy than me.
If you figured out Google Ads, I don't know if I buy that you're not tech savvy.
I'm tech savvy to a, there's a ceiling there, and she's just much more talented than I am when it comes to that stuff. I mean,
Sure.
So she's taken over the marketing type stuff, and she understands how to do TikTok and all that. So what we've seen since she's taken it over is that we're getting a lot more engagement from people. So she just understands it to a much deeper level than I do. So understands the culture.
And you guys, earlier you had told me you're looking at, I guess kind of doing work beyond just, just your own local community, Englewood. I mean, you actually have kind of expanded out a little bit to some of the surrounding cities too.
Yeah. So our work began in Englewood, and now we don't really do as much work in Englewood as we used to. Now it's all in the local islands, we've kind of found our footing in the island style, old Florida look, and just doing the high end work that we like to do. It's just it's what my employees are passionate about doing. It's what I'm passionate about doing. We like to do the fun, pretty stuff. So, and then of course we were hit with Hurricane Ian. We were hit with Hurricane Helene, and we were hit with Hurricane Milton in the past few years. So, we went from just doing the fine finish stuff, because after Ian, it was like, okay, this place is completely destroyed, and we have the ability, we have the equipment, and we have the knowledge to go ahead and put all this back together. So we started doing the structural stuff as well. So we do the decks and the stairs, and after Milton, almost everybody out on the islands lost their stairs to their homes. So we're building a lot of stairs right now. We're building a lot of decks. And then of course we're finishing out spaces that were flooded as well. We just redid a historical home out on Boca Grande that was severely, it was flooded about, maybe 2 feet throughout the whole place, but it was historical.
Sure.
So that one was challenging because we had to match everything exactly how it was. I mean, down to the texture of the wood, every little detail mattered. And that's why that client chose us, because they knew that we were so detail centered, that we were going to be able to do this for them, to the level that it needed to be done. And it really does look exactly like it did before. And, so it was, but that was the challenge, is getting really, really deep into what, sourcing these materials and having things custom made and all that stuff. I mean, just to make it happen was incredibly challenging, but
sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, you said your team you've got about 7 people on the team now.
Yep.
How is that, how has your team grown over the years, and kind of what do those 7 people do today?
Okay. So, over the years, so it started off, just me for the first maybe 4 years or so. Then I got an apprentice. Well, I went through a couple of apprentices. Then I got up to two helpers, and then we got up to 3. And then I just started taking on, people were starting to realize that we were capable of doing these large jobs. And so we kind of graduated. Our average job in the beginning was like $6,000 job. Now our average job is probably in the hundreds, 100,000 or more. So it's really changed, and as we've gotten bigger and taken on more, we've had to add people, and but that's a challenging thing as well, is finding the right people for the job. It's we're working in high-end homes every single day. So we've got to make sure that we vet these people very, very thoroughly. So everybody has to go through background checks and drug testing and physical, all these things we have just certain things that have to be met in order for them to even come work for us. And it's in the construction industry, it's very challenging to find people that can pass all of these, qualifications that we've set for them.
Sure. So are all of those guys, they're all in the field kind of?
Yeah. So most of the guys are in the field, and then in the office, it's me and my assistant, Anna.
Okay.
Yep. So,
nice.
And I'll jump out into the field sometimes also, because that's really what I enjoy doing. But, a lot of times I just can't. There's too much going on.
You're still focusing on like really the sales side of it, and kind of sounds like maybe project management.
So I've got a project manager. He's very talented. He actually came to me as an apprentice. And he quickly was was figuring out all the stuff. I mean, if I'd show him how to do something, I'd show him one time and he would get it. So he's very capable, of receiving instruction and all that.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I've got. So normally when it goes to like scheduling, so I'll sell a job and I'll say, okay, I have to talk to him. He's got the authority to schedule it. So I say, okay, when can we schedule this? And he works it into the schedule however he needs to, and we get it done.
No. So you're still really managing the entire back office?
Right.
You and your assistant?
Well, yeah. So Anna, my assistant, she does the marketing, she does the accounting, she does a lot of the speaking with the clients, the back and forth, just coordinating things. She does all that stuff, and then I mainly will focus on doing proposals. I'll think about what needs to be changed on a policy level. I'm solving problems, that sort of thing. Eventually, I'm going to hire somebody to do some sales stuff as well. But my main goal is to make myself the least important person here. That needs to be where I'm going, because then that'll give me the opportunity to start another business and another one and that, so that's the goal, is to build something that can sustain itself, that can be a great place for everybody to work, and everybody's got their job and it works in the way that it should, kind of like what you've done.
Do you have like, is there some kind of 5-year, 10-year, plan, vision, that you want to see come to fruition here?
Yeah. So I think within the next 5 years, I'd like to be opening up another branch on the East Coast, like over towards Miami and, Coral Gables, Boca Raton, all that. So that area has, there's a high demand for fine woodworking over there as well. So we want to kind of get into that market. And then after that, maybe we'll go to another place in Florida. But, right now we're just trying to lay the groundwork, get the systems and processes put together so that we can replicate it and be effective. So, and that's the main goal right now. But I think in about 5 years, that's where we're going. This year, our goal is to begin building a new shop. So we're going to be we rented this place that we're in now. This is a temporary, we're expecting to be here for a year, maybe a little longer, but we're hoping to, get a construction loan, build our own office, something much larger. This place is too small. It's, so yeah, that's our next, big adventure, is just going after getting the bigger shop so that we can operate at an even higher level and just keep pushing and seeing how big we can make this thing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, kind of just as we wrap up here, like, is there any advice or anything that, you would share with others who, earlier on kind of trying to decide, do they want to take that plunge like you did, 10 years ago? Like what, anything you wish you knew back then that you now know that might help someone else in that situation?
Well, I would say, just do it. You can't wait around. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be very hard. If it wasn't, everybody would do it. But if you're serious and you really have the drive to do it, and you got to do it. Yeah. So that was the thing. I mean, when I went to start my business, my wife and my mom both told me, don't do it. They said, you gotta get another job. It's too risky going into business. And I said, nope, I'm doing it. And so being stubborn is definitely been helpful, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's, that is great advice. And I feel like, again, entrepreneurs, that they just kind of naturally have that itch. Like if you find yourself continuing to think about starting your own and wishing you're starting your own and wanting to go out on your own, like, it takes a leap of faith. It's never easy to, it's there's never going to be this like perfect time, where you're going to be able to just say, okay, well, I'm going to do it. It's something that, you just got to kind of, at some point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and dive in and hope for the best. But, again, when you focus on, building out the right systems, the right processes, you focus on, winning those early jobs, kind of getting that traction early on. No, look, you're going to make mistakes, right? Like things are going to happen, but like you just got to keep learning from every single mistake and keep getting better and better and better. Hopefully, hearing some of Tyler's story here will help others, realize that, look, you may be undercharging, you're not making a profit, you're breaking even. Like the sooner that you can start to understand your numbers and you understand that you need to be able to earning a profit to be able to keep growing the business, that will help you to hopefully kind of shorten some of that early period where it's a grind. I mean, it is, nonstop, just a total grind, not knowing where that next deal is going to come from. And I think, Tyler, what we've seen here is this is a great success story of how, you started off just a one-man band, as you said, and, slowly were able to keep adding to your team, getting those helpers, winning more jobs. You made the right moves with your website, focusing on, getting, your brand right, organically ranking the company, getting found by others, sponsoring the local community, getting involved. Like all of these were the right moves that you made. And they have put you in this position where you've got, a very successful, very great business that's continuing to get all of those, those inbound leads. The marketing engine is going. And that's, I think that's what others need to realize is that, you got to start somewhere and you got to make the right moves, invest in yourself, find the right people, whether they're employees, they're partners. And like, that is how you get a business off the ground from nothing. You've really shown that very clearly here, Tyler. So I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. I can't wait to see, what that new office looks like. It'd be awesome to see you with, multiple locations all around Florida. Very, very cool to see how you're building this, very methodically. Really, you're doing a great job, man. It's awesome to just kind of be a fly in the wall, getting to see your success. But, thank you again for coming on and for sharing this with everyone else.
Yeah, and I appreciate you and everything that you've done. I mean, your organization has been critical in us being able to handle all these jobs that we're taking on. I mean, we just being able to scale in that way, utilizing your program, we definitely couldn't have done it without JobShred. And, when I first signed up for JobShred, I was also signed up for Buildertrend at the same time. So I started both. And I wanted to see which one was better, So you guys came out on top for obvious reasons, and I love to see how you guys keep adding, these new features and everything there. Now, I think that it's just been. What am I trying to say here? I can't remember what I was going to say. Can you edit that out?
No, look, it's awesome to hear that we were able to, kind of come out on top there. I mean, again, at the end of the day, like we encourage everyone, like whatever system you choose, it's so important that you get those systems in place, like get your business set up for success. Like, you're not going to be able to scale just kind of doing everything manually, pen, paper, Excel. Like you got to put the right systems in place. And like, again, you've shown what happens when you do that. And, I hope everyone can learn from your story, your journey here, because, it's obviously a great one and you're doing great work, man. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.